Rusty Bowers, who is term limited from running again for the Arizona House, went on to lose in a primary for a state Senate seat to a Trump-endorsed opponent. He's now watching all this unfold for the second time in 3 years in his home state. Joining me now is Rusty Bowers, the Republican Speaker of the Arizona House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, it's good to have you on. I just want to start by saying how struck and I was by your testimony before the committee, how much I've had occasion to think about it time and time again. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
You're welcome, sir.
Let me ask your reaction to what happened in Arizona today. At some level, I suppose it could have been worse. There was some noises about a bunch of different counties other than Cochise not voting to certify. But given that you have one committee sort of one county acting fairly flagrantly in violation of the law, and the scene at Maricopa County, what do you make of what happened today?
Well, we're seeing the residuals of the carpet bombing that Donald Trump did of the Republican Party and of Arizona and a lot of other states. The cancer, or maybe we should call it a virus, should have been constructively inoculated with truth. I mean, there has to be some arbiter, I guess, of truth. That might be the courts. But ultimately, it doesn't seem to matter. There can't be any error in the printing of the ballots was now part of a conspiracy, and these errors are not allowed, not viewed as being something even acceptable for a couple of hours. It's just one thing after another, and that's part of the residue. You don't need truth. You just need an opinion, and you need to be able to yell it loudly and crassly, and maybe lace it with some biblical references that somehow give it justification. Sad for those who are acting that way, but I can't say it's totally unexpected.
I should note that the Bill Gates, who's the chair of that board, was at pains today to sort of walk people through, to your point, a kind of factual rebuttal of this. I mean, they really did engage on the merits, right? Here's what the complaint is. Here's why this happened with these ballots to not that much avail. How much do you think Ms. Lake's decision to not concede ends up being the sort of driver or trigger for this, or how much of that is independent of that decision that she's made?
Well, I think it's all part of a whole, a whole of the, if I can't win, evidently the primary was okay. Mm-hmm. Nobody was cheating there, but now the general is bad because we lost. And she told us ahead of time, if I lose, it's going to be because there was cheating. It's the same mentality that permeates a certain group in our state and elsewhere. And this is the result. I do think it's part of it. I think someone responsible would say, look, we didn't make it. We came close. Let's go regroup. But not this group. This group is going to burn apart or burn down the party and tear apart anybody else who gets in the way. And so it causes a lot of us to think, what might we do that would be helpful in the future that could bring us some aspect of a peaceful election season, if there is such a thing.
You just
right now.
You just used the phrase "burn down the party," and I wanted to get your reaction to the performance of Republican statewide candidates in your state. Obviously, Arizona, a closely divided state, a fairly popular Republican incumbent governor who's term limited out, if I'm not mistaken, Doug Ducey. It does seem this is not a state that it's, you can't win statewide as a Republican. In fact, many examples of that. And yet it appears that the big contested statewide candidates did go 0 for 4. We don't know about that AG race. Do you think the embrace of this form of politics and the big lie and all that was part of why they came up short?
Absolutely. Look at the one Republican who just blew everybody away, Kimberly Yee, for treasurer. Everybody voted for her. A lot of Republicans voted for her. that did not vote for the others. And if you look, like 187,000 more than Fincham, she got. Wow. 60,000 more than the governor. And people are speaking. I'm wondering what's wrong with the hearing aid of some of my friends. They are telling us this is not how we should do business.
Well, can I ask you this? I mean, you obviously I was so struck by you discussing the role that faith played in the conversations you had in 2020, and also your sense of integrity. And it's really stayed with me. But also, you're a politician, and politicians tend to follow the incentives that get them reelected, right? There's people make moral calculations, but they also make calculations about politics. When you put aside this question of integrity and morality, it does seem like this is not working, just in a sheer political sense. And it is odd to me that that doesn't seem to break through as much as you might expect it to.
Well, it's because on their side, it's a religious point of view. They're the ones who are their own faith. And their faith is a faith of hate. It's a faith of dissension, a faith of division, that somehow we are uniting by division. It's Orwellian. And it's, hey, you're as good as my. I'm not a psychologist. I think I'll just stick with art.
All right.
Can't figure that one out.
I've heard you're quite a painter, Speaker Bowers. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.